Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at energy fuels. It is time for another update, and on this chart we are still looking here at the potential 1-2 setup where now we would expect to form a third wave to the upside based on this assumption. But the problem is here that since we have already formed within this area the largest part of the rally, we already have the wave 1, 2 and 3 complete. We only need a fifth wave to the upside to complete this overall structure, this overall pattern. And while it is expected also within a wave 3, we would also expect within a wave 3 to reach the ideal target here, which is the 138.2% extension of the wave 1 around the $130 level. And while it isn't impossible for us to get here in a fifth wave to the upside, it isn't necessarily a likely interpretation. Sure, this could work out as a double 1-2-1-2 setup, and then this could be the third wave up, but this doesn't necessarily line up very well with the broader market sentiment, where on many of the charts we actually could have already formed a top, this being one of the more bullish charts on or in the market right now. And even on the Nvidia chart, we might have a more significant top already in place where, we might already have our 5-wave move to the upside and we could be looking for a larger correction. And on this chart, we are actually still in need of another high, even in the other interpretations that we can track, even though we fail to get here in this overall wave 3 in a more direct fashion. So what other options do we really have? Well, firstly, we could be tracking realistically an internal wave 1 of the larger wave 3 in this area. And even in that interpretation, we would still expect a fifth wave still to be forming. Although this wave 1 would be quite large for such a pattern. This wouldn't necessarily fit too well. And that takes me to the next interpretation, which is probably the most likely to play out, which is the interpretation of an ABC movement. Well, in such a case, we have two options in this interpretation. So we could be forming an ABC structure as part of a larger wave 1, and not only that, within such a pattern, we would be looking for an ideal target for wave C, at the 100% extension of the wave 1, which lines up very well because we could easily get those levels within a fifth wave to the upside. The 100% extension is at the $46.5 level, very much in line with the possibilities or normal regular expectations of a wave 5, which would make it ideal for such a pattern. And what could this mean? Again, this could be an ABC structure in a wave 1, part of a larger leading diagonal to be forming, although even in such a scenario we could expect very serious retracements, very serious correction within a wave 2, taking us possibly even below the beginning of this entire uptrend in this area, below the $3.2 level. And then not only that, because realistically we are still in an overall larger downtrend, this could be forming a larger ABC movement that could take us even to new lows, because in this wave B we could form an ABC structure that could form a wave B, and we could be heading into new lows in a wave C. That is a significant risk that we are facing on this chart. However, even within this interpretation, we are still expecting with high likelihood another high. In all of the likely interpretations, we are still looking for an additional high, and while we hold here the area of support that we have in green all the way down to the $8.6 level at the 61.8% retracement, we are still looking for a fifth wave to be formed in this movement. And with that said, in this area, we are now going into the smaller time frame. In this area, we were able to predict quite accurately when we should expect a low, a bottom to be formed, possibly within this wave 4. And we had here this 3-wave movement to the downside in a possible ABC structure, and we were looking for a possible completion ever since we have formed this bottom. And in the previous video, we were looking for the possibility of an extension lower. We have here the resistance area between the $16.5 all the way up to the $23 level that would allow us to track resistance levels, as well as the structural resistance points that we have on this chart around the $18.5 level. We also have here between the $22.3 level all the way up to the $23.4 level to look for structural resistance as well. And those do kind of line up with the overall levels, the overall Fibonacci retracement levels. So far, we have only managed to get here to the 38.2% retracement before getting rejected. We also had some structural resistance levels in this area as well, and we were tracking a couple of interpretations that would actually still allow us to continue moving higher while facing the rejection. Now, the thing that could be worrying is here forming a larger 5-wave move to the downside. Right now, this is very much in play. We have failed here to create a more impulsive and larger movement to the upside, and I have to say, as long as we hold here below the resistance levels up to the 61.8% retracement at the $18.2 level, which is in line with the 50% retracement in yellow, there is still a risk that this could form a 50 to the downside. And if that happens, well, it would have quite bearish implications, because having a larger 5-wave move to the downside in this area could force us to consider even the possibility of already having a more significant top in place already. But for now, we haven't necessarily broken all interpretations that we were tracking to still take us higher. Yeah, the white interpretation isn't really valid anymore. I mean, yeah, technically we didn't invalidate this potential 1-2 setup completely because we haven't broken below the beginning of the wave 1, but we have broken here the area of support. We have broken the 78.6% retracement, and yeah, as always, breaking those levels increase drastically the probabilities of the structure failing. And since we have failed to hold here the area of support, we have pushed here into the upside in 3 waves and continued our overall downtrend. And we can actually even check, because here we have pushed perfectly into the 78.6% retracement, the $16 level, before we got rejected. Yeah, we got quite a significant rejection at the 78.6% retracement, which is why I always highlight these exact levels of resistance and support. Yeah, these exact Fibonacci retracement levels are very significant and allow us to track likely levels to find support or rejection depending on the area of support that we are tracking. And yeah, right now I am still looking for the possibility of this blue interpretation to work out. And sure, this could even work as a 1-2 setup itself as part of a larger leading diagonal, but right now I am tracking it as an ABC structure. Doesn't matter exactly, we would need to see how this larger structure in the wave C unfolds. If this forms a 5-wave move to the upside, it would have to be a wave C. If it forms a larger ABC movement and gets to the ideal target of the wave 3, we can track a potential larger leading diagonal. But right now, both interpretations would have the exact same area of support, which is here between the $14.7 all the way down to the $12.9 level at the 78.6% retracement. The unfortunate part is that we only have 3 waves up in this area, which doesn't make this, or makes this, a not high probability area of support for a reversal. Yeah, we don't have our always sought after 5-wave move to the upside to be looking for the 3-wave correction into the area of support, which leaves us vulnerable to the possibility of a complete correction in an ABC structure, part of a larger overall downtrend, and yeah, leaves us vulnerable for further extensions into new lows. Yeah, that is why we are always looking for the 5-wave move, because that suggests with high probability that after a 3-wave correction we should expect at least an additional 5-wave move to the upside. Yeah, as it happened here internally, we at least got an ABC structure. After having this initial 5-wave move to the upside, we would have been able anyway, I don't remember if we checked it, but we would have been able to look for support for a correction and for an additional 5-wave move to the upside with high likelihood. After having already the 3-wave complete, well, we don't necessarily need to have such expectations because it could be a complete correction. Now, with that said, I am still looking here for a potential bottom within this area of support, because it doesn't mean that these interpretations cannot work out. It just means that they aren't necessarily the high probability we are always looking for. And in this area, for this potential ABC pattern within this wave B in blue, yeah, ABC, we are looking for an ideal target at 100% extension of the wave A around the $13.7 level, very much in line with the 61.8% retracement of this area of support, where so far we have pushed here perfectly into the 50% retracement before pushing back higher in a 3-wave structure nonetheless. But yeah, we pushed higher and we got rejected in another correction, or as part of the larger correction in the wave B. And right now, I wouldn't necessarily assume that this correction is done while we have found some sort of support in possibly the previous bottom, yeah, the previous structural support that has formed by forming this low, we should be prepared still for extensions lower. And within this area, we have actually a couple of options. I could be considering this a wave 1 down. I could be considering actually a potential double 1-2-1-2 setup, where this could be a third wave down, fourth wave up, and then a fifth wave down, where, yeah, we would still need here a fourth and a fifth to complete the overall larger wave C. And yeah, I will actually go ahead and label this just to make it easier and more clear for everyone. But yeah, we are looking here for an ABC structure as part of this larger wave B in blue, where again, the ideal target, the 100% extension of the wave A. And in this pattern, in the wave C, we do need to form a 5-wave structure. Now, I won't go any closer than the 15-minute time frame. And again, I am looking here for a potential double 1-2-1-2 setup, where a third wave would already be expected to be done. And I would be watching out here for resistance for a wave 4 at the levels between the $14.6 all the way up to the $15 level. Right now, I am tracking an impulse within this area. And while I cannot confirm 100% that if we break here above the $15 level, above the 50% retracement, that this pattern is done, it would be a signal that at least the impulse is likely not going to play out, and I would probably still need to push a little higher. I would need the price to actually break here above the $15.3 level for a signal of an early completion. But as I was saying, right now we are still looking with higher likelihood for continuation lower, where internally we have pushed into the first level of resistance, yeah, the $14.6 level, and we got our initial rejection. Now we may have another attempt to even form here a 3-wave structure, but I wouldn't necessarily have high hopes that this correction is done just yet. I would still expect to see additional lows, although the positive side is that the momentum to the downside has decreased significantly, and that we could be looking at a completion here in the near term, the shorter term rather than the longer term. And for now, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. And also, I wanted to remind you, from the large time frame perspective, yeah, we are still quite deep into the area of support here in green. We are quite close to the lowest point we have reached so far, and there is no guarantee that we will get there. And while in the shorter time frame, this isn't necessarily a high probability trade setup, we are in the larger time frame deep area of support, yeah, deep enough anyway. We are heading possibly here to the 38.2% retracement, which was previously quite an interesting level. And anyway, for now, this is it. And as I was mentioning, I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.